Hello, let me ask you a question. How often do you feel like you're losing control? How often are you overwhelmed by anxiety about the future, regrets about the past, or anger towards people and circumstances that don't meet your expectations? Imagine you're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. Your heart is pounding, and the worst-case scenarios are racing through your mind. Or you're reading the news and feel a wave of fear and powerlessness wash over you. Or perhaps someone left a harsh comment under your photo on social media, and this trivial thing ruins your whole day. Familiar situations, aren't they? We live in a world that constantly tests our resilience. And in this daily struggle for peace of mind, we make the same mistakes. Again and again. We step on the same rakes that steal our energy, joy, and emotional balance. What if I told you that over 2,000 years ago, there were people who developed an operating system for the human mind that allowed them not to make these mistakes? People for whom tranquility was not a stroke of luck, but the result of daily practice. I'm talking about the Stoics, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, the powerful advisor Seneca, the former slave Epictetus. These people lived in a world full of wars, epidemics, betrayals, and political intrigues. Their lives were much more unstable and dangerous than ours. And yet, they found the strength to maintain clarity of mind, courage, and inner peace. Today, we will not delve into the complex theory of Stoicism. Instead, we will do something much more practical. We will analyze 7 key mistakes that modern people make every day, but which a Stoic, armed with their wisdom, would never commit. This is not just a list of prohibitions. It is a roadmap to a more conscious, strong, and ultimately happier life. Ready to reprogram your mind? Then let's begin. Mistake number 1, worrying about what we cannot control. This is perhaps the most fundamental and most common mistake. How much mental energy do we spend every day on things that are completely beyond our power? We worry about the weather, about the political situation in the world, about what other people think of us, about exchange rates, about traffic jams. Our mind turns into a buzzing beehive of anxious thoughts about what may or may not happen. The Stoics called this the main source of human suffering. Their philosophy begins with a simple yet incredibly powerful exercise known as the dichotomy of control. Epictetus, a teacher of Stoicism, formulated it this way: of things existing, some are in our power, others are not. In our power are opinion, movement, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever are our own acts. Not in our power are our body, our possessions, reputation, preferment, and in a word, whatever are not our own acts. Think about it. The only thing you truly have is your inner world, your judgments, your decisions, your reactions. Everything else is external. You can influence your health, but you cannot guarantee it. You can work hard, but you cannot guarantee a promotion. You can be a kind and honest person, but you cannot make other people love or respect you. A modern example. You are preparing for an important job interview. You can perfectly prepare your resume, research the company, rehearse answers to questions, choose appropriate clothing. All of this is in your power. But you cannot control the interviewer's mood, the number of other candidates, their personal biases, or the company's sudden decision to freeze hiring. An ordinary person will worry about everything at once. They will torment themselves with thoughts like, what if they don't like me? What if they already have their candidate? What if I say something wrong? A Stoic, however, will focus solely on what they can control, their preparation and their behavior during the interview. The outcome is no longer in their power, and therefore, worrying about it is pointless. They will accept any outcome with dignity, knowing that they did everything within their power. Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote in his diary, which we know as Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He also wrote, "You can rid yourself of many unnecessary troubles, for they all lie in your judgment, not in the external objects themselves." Every time you feel anxious, ask yourself a simple question. Is what I'm worrying about right now in my power or not? If not, let it go. It's not your battlefield. Focus on your actions, your thoughts, your reactions. That is true freedom. Mistake number 2, seeking happiness and self-worth in external things. We live in an age of external validation. Likes on social media, designer clothes, an expensive car, a prestigious position. All of these have become measures of our success and, we believe, our happiness. We constantly compare our lives to the polished images in other people's profiles and feel inadequate. We fall into the trap of hedonic adaptation. We buy a new item, rejoice for a few days, and then the joy fades, and we start wanting something new. This race is endless and already lost. The Stoics would look at this with a sympathetic smile. They taught that relying on external things for happiness is like building a house on sand. All of it can be taken from you at any moment. Wealth can be lost, beauty fades, fame is fleeting, even loved ones can leave. If your self-worth is tied to these things, you condemn yourself to eternal anxiety and disappointment. The true source of happiness and dignity, according to the Stoics, lies within. This is what they called virtue: living in harmony with reason, being just, courageous, moderate, and wise. That is what matters. Your worth as a person is not determined by the number of followers or the model of your phone. It is determined by your character. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, wrote in his Letters to Lucilius, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." He also said, "A man is as unhappy as he thinks he is." He understood that one could be a slave in a palace and a free man in prison. It all depends on your state of mind. Imagine two artists. One constantly checks how many likes his latest post has received. He gets upset over every negative comment and is euphoric from praise. His creativity depends on the opinion of the crowd. The second artist focuses on the process. He enjoys the act of creation itself, of honing his craft. He posts his work, but his self-worth does not depend on public reaction. He knows he did his best, and that is enough for him. Which of them, in your opinion, is freer and happier? The answer is obvious. The Stoic approach does not mean that one must give up all worldly goods and go live in a cave. The Stoics were not against wealth or success. They simply considered them preferred indifference. That is, it's good if you have them, but if you don't, it shouldn't destroy your inner peace. The main thing is not to get attached to them. Use them if you have them, but be prepared to lose them at any moment without regret. Stop seeking validation for your worth externally. Your worth is unconditional. It is in your thoughts, in your actions, in your desire to be a good person. Everything else is just scenery. Mistake number 3, living in the past or future. If only I had acted differently then. What if the worst happens tomorrow? Our mind is a time machine that constantly takes us either to the past, full of regrets, or to the future, full of anxieties. We replay old grievances in our heads, analyze past mistakes, and construct catastrophic predictions. And in the process, we miss the only thing we truly have, the present moment. The Stoics were absolute masters of mindfulness, although they did not use that term. They understood that the past cannot be changed. Lessons can and should be learned from it, but living in it means dragging a dead weight behind you. The future has not yet arrived, and most of our fears about it will never come true. As Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." The only point where we can act, where we can change something, is here and now. Your life is not yesterday and not tomorrow. Your life is this very breath, this very moment. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this in his meditations. Do not let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which arm you against the present. He taught himself to view each day as a separate, complete life, to live it with dignity from beginning to end, without being distracted by ghosts of the past and phantoms of the future. Let's consider a practical example. A student failed an important exam. The usual approach is to sink into self-blame. I'm so stupid, I ruined everything. And anxiety about the future. Now I'll be expelled, I won't find a job, my life is over. This path leads to depression and paralysis of will. The Stoic approach would be different. Yes, the exam was failed. That's a fact, the past. A lesson needs to be learned from it. What did I do wrong? Maybe I didn't study enough. Maybe I chose the wrong strategy. After this analysis, the past is released. Next, instead of panicking about the future, the Stoic will ask themselves, what can I do right now in the present moment to remedy the situation? They might go to the dean's office and inquire about the possibility of a retake. They might create a new, more effective study plan. They might talk to the professor. They act in the present to shape a better future, instead of passively suffering from imagined catastrophes. Learn to catch yourself when your mind wanders. When you catch yourself thinking about the past or future, gently bring your attention back to the present. Ask yourself, what is most important right now? What action can I take right now? Focusing on the present not only reduces anxiety but also makes you much more effective. After all your energy is directed to the only point where it can make a difference. Mistake number 4. Accepting your first impressions as truth. Our brain is wired to make quick judgments. This helped our ancestors survive. If you saw something resembling a saber-toothed tiger in the bushes, it was better to run immediately than to ponder. But in the modern world, this system often malfunctions. We react to events and people's words impulsively, based on a first emotional assessment. Your boss looked at you sternly. He hates me. I'll be fired. Your partner didn't reply to a message for an hour. He doesn't love me anymore. He has someone else. Someone cut you off in traffic. What a jerk. We instantly create a story in our head and begin to believe it as an undeniable fact. The Stoics taught that there is a gap between an event and our reaction to it, and in that gap lies our power. Events themselves are neutral. They are neither good nor bad. We are the ones who give them our assessment, our judgment. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." Suppose it's raining. For a farmer whose fields are parched, it's a blessing. For someone who is planning a picnic, it's a disaster. The rain itself is just rain, a neutral phenomenon. Our perception gives it all its coloring. The Stoics urged practicing what can be called cognitive distance. Do not accept your first thought, your first emotional reaction, as the ultimate truth. Pause. Analyze it. Marcus Aurelius advised himself, say to the impression, "Wait a little, and let me see what you are and what you represent. Let me test you." This is an incredibly powerful tool. Let's go back to the example of the stern-faced boss. Your first impression, he's displeased with me. Stoic practice. Pause and test this impression. Is that really true? Do I have evidence? Maybe he just has a headache. Maybe he didn't sleep all night because of a sick child. Maybe he received bad news that has nothing to do with me. When you start asking these questions, the initial emotional reaction loses its power over you. You stop being a puppet of your impulses and become a rational observer. This skill is especially important in communication. Before responding to an offensive word or criticism, take a breath. Ask yourself, what is actually happening? Did the person really mean to offend me, or did I interpret it that way? Often you will find that behind harsh words lies fatigue, fear, or simply an inability to express thoughts. A rational response will always be more productive than an impulsive reaction. Don't believe everything your brain tells you. It is often lazy and prone to dramatization. Be its master, not its slave. Check your impressions before letting them control your emotions and actions. Mistake number 5. Avoiding discomfort and difficulties. Modern culture is obsessed with comfort. We seek the most comfortable chairs, the fastest food delivery, the simplest solutions to problems. We strive to avoid any physical or mental strain. It seems that the ideal life is a life without the slightest difficulties. The Stoics would say that this is a direct path to weakness and atrophy of the spirit. They believe that character, like muscles, is strengthened only through overcoming resistance. Difficulties are not a curse, but a training ground for the soul. Obstacles are an opportunity to practice virtue, courage, patience, perseverance, creativity. There is a famous Stoic metaphor, fire. A strong fire turns everything thrown into it into flame and light. A weak flame will go out from the first twig. A Stoic strives to become such a strong fire that can assimilate any difficulty and become only brighter from it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is the main idea of Ryan Holiday's book, The Obstacle is the Way. Moreover, the Stoics did not just wait for difficulties, they actively sought them out. Seneca practiced what we would today call voluntary discomfort. From time to time, he dressed in simple clothes, ate the plainest food, and slept on a hard floor. Why? Not for self-torment, but to inoculate himself against hardship. He asked himself, is this what I was so afraid of? And he realized that he could endure much more than he thought. This made him less dependent on comfort and wealth and less fearful in the face of possible losses. How can this be applied today? You don't need to sleep on the floor, but you can consciously choose small discomforts. Take a cold shower. Walk instead of taking the elevator. Start the day with the most difficult task you've been postponing. Try living on a very modest budget for a day. All of these are exercises that make you stronger. When a real problem occurs in your life, job loss, illness, relationship breakup. You meet it not pampered and weak, but tempered and prepared. You already know that you are capable of enduring difficulties. You don't panic, but start looking for a solution. Stop perceiving discomfort as an enemy. Look at it as a trainer. Every difficulty is an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. As the old saying goes, a calm sea never made a skilled sailor. Mistake number 6, complaining and blaming others. It's not my fault. It's all because of the government, boss, parents, bad weather. How often do we hear or say such phrases? The culture of complaining and finding fault thrives. It's much easier to shift responsibility for one's problems onto external circumstances or other people than to take it on oneself. This provides temporary relief, a sense of being in the right. But in the long run, it's a victim mentality. And a victim, by definition, is powerless. The Stoics considered such a position utterly unworthy of a rational person. By complaining, you voluntarily give control over your life to what you are complaining about. You are saying, "My happiness and peace depend not on me, but on external forces." This is the complete opposite of Stoic philosophy. Epictetus divided people into 3 categories. Ignorant people blame others for their misfortunes. Those beginning to study philosophy blame themselves. And the wise blame no one, neither others nor themselves. They simply accept reality as it is and focus on what they can do to improve it. Instead of complaining, a Stoic asks themselves different questions. What in this situation can I control? What lesson can I learn? How can I use this obstacle for my growth? This is a shift from the passive position of a victim to the active position of an agent. Imagine you didn't get a promotion at work, even though you expected it. You could go down the path of complaints. My boss is unfair, he only promotes his favorites. It's impossible to grow in this company. This path leads to resentment, demotivation, and ultimately stagnation. The Stoic path is different. First, accept reality without emotional evaluations. Fact, I didn't get the promotion. Second, take responsibility. What could I have done better? Where were my weaknesses? Did I receive feedback and work on it? Third, create an action plan. What do I need to do now to increase my chances in the future? What skills do I need to develop? Maybe I should talk to my boss and ask for honest feedback. Or maybe this is a sign that it's time to look for another company where my talents will be appreciated. Notice the difference. In the first case, all energy goes to negative emotions and accusations. In the second, to constructive analysis and planning. Stop wasting your precious energy on complaints. It changes nothing except making you weaker and unhappier. Every situation you want to complain about is actually a disguised opportunity. An opportunity to show resilience, find a creative solution, and become better. Take responsibility for your life. It's the only way to become truly free. And finally, mistake number 7, forgetting your own mortality. This may sound grim, but the Stoics considered it one of the most life-affirming practices. We live as if we have an eternity in reserve. We postpone important conversations, don't dare to follow our dreams, waste time on trifles, quarrels, and meaningless activities. We say, someday I'll start, later I'll say. The Stoics practiced what is called memento mori, remember death. This was not a way to fall into depression. On the contrary, it was a powerful tool for living a full and meaningful life right now. The realization that our time is limited cuts away all the inessential. It forces us to ask ourselves the main question, am I spending my single precious day on what truly matters? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Imagine living each day with this thought. Would you spend hours mindlessly scrolling through your feed? Would you get involved in silly internet arguments? Would you harbor resentment towards a loved one for weeks? Most likely no. Memento mori gives life urgency and value. It helps set priorities. Instead of worrying about what others think of you, you'll start thinking about the kind of person you want to be. Instead of postponing a call to your parents, you'll call them today. Instead of dreaming about the book you want to write, you'll write the first page. Seneca, in his essay on the shortness of life, says that life is not short, it's we who make it so by wasting it on trifles. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we squander a good deal of it. The practice of memento mori is an antidote to procrastination and meaninglessness. It reminds us that every day is a gift, and our duty is to use it in the best possible way, to live virtuously, to be kind to others, to learn, to grow, and to appreciate the simple moments of existence. Don't be afraid of thoughts of death. Use them as a compass that points to what is truly important in life. Live in such a way that, when your hour comes, you can look back without regret, knowing that you did not squander your gift. So, let's summarize. 7 mistakes that Stoics would not make. Worrying about what we cannot control. Seeking happiness and self-worth in external things. Living in the past or future. Missing the present. Accepting our first impressions as truth without checking them. Avoiding discomfort and difficulties. Complaining and blaming others instead of taking responsibility. Forgetting our own mortality and the value of each day. Perhaps you recognized yourself in one or even several points. That's normal. We all make these mistakes. Stoicism is not about becoming a perfect, emotionless robot. It's about practice. It's a daily effort to be a little better, a little wiser, a little calmer than yesterday. This is not a philosophy for a library shelf. It's a set of practical tools for real life. Tools that help us cope with the chaos of the modern world without losing ourselves. Start small. Choose one of these mistakes that resonates with you most. And for the next week, simply observe yourself. When you catch yourself making it, don't scold yourself. Just note it and try to apply the Stoic principle. Instead of anxiety about the uncontrollable, focus on your actions. Instead of seeking likes, praise yourself for a job well done. Instead of complaining, ask the question, what can I do? This is a lifelong journey. But every step on this path makes you stronger, freer, and closer to the state the Stoics called eudaimonia, a state of flourishing, a meaningful and well-lived life. Thank you for spending this time with me. Write in the comments which of these mistakes is most familiar to you, and which Stoic principle you will try to apply this week. I will be very interested to read. If this video was helpful to you, subscribe to the channel, like it, and share it with those who might benefit from it. See you next time.